This is the Unspecial Podcast. I'm honored to be joined by the Autism Superhero, also known as Jessica. Jessica is an autism mom, strong advocate for the autism community, certified life coach, certified yogi, and the author of this book right here, Jackson's Superhero School Adventures, a book about her son. Thank you, Jessica, for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I always had in my mind there needs to be more kids' books on autism or any disability, really. And so I bought it, and then it came a couple days later, and I sat down with my 3 kids. I have 4. One of them's 9 months. I guess I should have brought him in too. But I read it to them, and it was really interesting because I've taught special ed for 7 years. My
Okay.
kids know I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and the 9-month. And they know full well what I do, why,
Right.
like my podcast, everything going on. And it was fascinating because they were asking real directed questions.
Okay.
Where in the past it was kind of like I would try and explain things to them, and they would kind of be like, yeah, whatever. But because of how you wrote the book, and it was really relatable for them in school, and so they were able to ask like, what is stimming? You know, why? What's sensory? Why do they have sensory challenges? And so it was super awesome.
And I'm happy that you say all of that because that was the purpose of my book. So the fact that your
Nice.
kids are all different ages and you're giving me this feedback, I'm really, really happy because that's the purpose. To your point, there isn't a lot of books. I would go to Barnes and Nobles, I would go to Target, any bookstore, or just looking online. And I don't know if you came across your searches, but when I was looking for an autism book to explain to my daughter, because she's 4,
Yeah,
and
okay.
how do you tell a 4-year-old that your brother's autistic? She doesn't know. So
Right.
when I was looking for books, they had books, but it was more like, autism. Like I found one book, it was called the ABC book, and it was like A is for autism, B is for the ball that he likes to play with. And I'm like, that's not gonna help me.
Lame. Yeah.
Right. So after a lot of thought, a lot of research, and especially when things come within you and life experiences, it hits different. So I said I have to find a way that I can teach her, but not only her, a lot of other kids, because when you go out, you come across other children that they ask me, why doesn't he speak? And
Yeah.
it used to bother me a lot. I would even cry sometimes because I know kids are being kids, but I couldn't find a way to explain it to them. And that bothered me. So that kind of led me to do what I'm doing and to create that book.
Yeah. When did it come out?
So the book initially came out this April that passed, but we've been working on this book for like a year and a half to get it to perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How has it been since it came out and all
I've
that?
been, very happy, very blessed, knock on wood. We've gotten nothing but great feedback. My son had a book signing, just a few weeks ago
Nice.
with the book. And we've gotten, like what you said, we've gotten the feedback that we were looking for. And that's exactly what I wanted for kids to get it. My goal is to get access to so many schools just because our kids need to be taught. And I feel like that's the most simplest, cutest way that anybody can engage, whether you're on the spectrum or not.
Right. Well, it's funny. Right before we jumped on, I was running around the house looking for the book, and then I asked my son, like, "Where's the book?" And then he
Mhm.
went and found it, and then he's like, "Who are you podcasting with?" And I was like, "Oh, the lady who wrote the book." He was like, "Oh, no way." Well, would you tell me about your journey and Jackson, and when did that all start? And yeah,
So my son, he's 7 now, Jackson, and I was a first time mom to him when all of this started. He got diagnosed around 2.5. I didn't know anything about autism. I had no idea. I was one of those people that if something is not happening in your life, I don't research it. I don't know what's going on, kind of thing.
right,
So I just knew something was wrong after his first birthday. I didn't know what it was exactly, but I guess that mom gut in you just kind of like said something's wrong. It wasn't it wasn't like a delay, right? Because I don't even know what milestones I was looking for at the time. It was more so I felt like he went from speaking to not speaking. And when I say speaking, obviously he was 1. It was like babbling and saying a lot, saying a lot of words, like here and there, single words. And out of nowhere, like literally out of nowhere, he just stopped. And I couldn't, I was like, I don't know if there's something wrong or like if that happens. And a lot of people I know go to the pediatrician. Pediatricians sometimes say, oh, that's normal or take your time. But I promise you to this day, and I've said this so many times, I do not know what led me to go immediately to a developmental specialist because that's something so specific that you won't go unless there's, something severely wrong or you were told to go. I immediately made an appointment to a children's specialized hospital, which is like kind of known out here for children, with a diagnosis. But I don't know what led me there. I just went there. The waiting list is ridiculous. I got very lucky to get seen right away. And as soon as I took my son, they immediately were like, he's autistic because of this, even more things that I didn't know. I was just going because of the verbal aspect. So they kind of told me, like, listen, he's autistic. This is what's going on. He's not looking at us. He's stimming. He's very delayed in milestones and all that crazy stuff.
So
Yeah.
so you went there and then you got the news. What was it like receiving the news? Was it like a relief or was it kind of like?
It was like I knew something was wrong driving up there. I guess because I couldn't pinpoint it or I didn't know how bad or how like severe it could be. Getting the news was really hard because I didn't even know what the heck they were talking about at the time. It was like they were throwing so much at me that I think I was more shocked. And I'm like, let me wrap my brain around it. It just all sounded negative. So of course I'm crying. I feel like somebody punched me in my stomach. I'm blaming myself. I didn't know what to think. So I had to go home, figure everything out, do my own research, what they told me versus what I'm trying to figure out. And it was a lot. It was a lot of wrapping around because I didn't know. And I'm trying to figure out how did it happen? How does this happen? Why him and all these things. So it was a lot to wrap around my head and trying to give myself that grieving space, but also trying to hurry up and figure out, all right, what are the next steps that we have to do to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, yeah. So then what was your journey from there? Did you started learning about autism?
I started immediately. Like I literally gave myself like 48 hours for a pity party for myself.
Oh,
Yeah, I had to because I was like, it's me. And, everybody's like, no. And I didn't want to hear it, but I gave myself that 48 hour. I said, do what you got to do, but you have to hurry up because one thing that was always on the back of my mind was all the doctors were like, the earlier the better. He's still little. You can do it. Like, he can get saved or whatever they wanted to say. And that's all I kept thinking. After I saw that, the developmental pediatrician, I went to the neurologist. And when I went to her, she's very thorough. She was amazing. Like, she was very straightforward, like, no filter, no nothing. And it did seem a
yeah,
little aggressive at the time, but one thing she said to me was, you're going to appreciate me later. And sure enough, she was right. So she sent him for an EEG just to make sure we're not missing anything, with brain waves or anything like that. We've done it maybe 5 times yearly just to see, and he's always been okay. She immediately told me, listen, he has to go to ABA. I'm going to send him for ABA, PT, DI, OT, speech, all of that. So when I got the script, she was like, I have to write you the script because through the insurance, you're not going to get the hours that you need. So when I write this for you, he needs 40 hours of everything. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's like a work shift.
yeah,
So I was
totally.
like, oh my God, my kid is really broken or there's something really wrong with him because that's a lot. So I had to navigate through that. When I was trying to find ABA schools, it was a big waiting list as well. Or she was like, don't do an in center in home, send him to a school from like 8 to 4. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. He was only 3.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was a lot. It was a lot, but after everything, I guess I didn't have a choice. Every day it was like homework for me. I felt like I was in college again. Like I had no choice but to research, but to do things and just be as fast as I can as a quick learner. And granted, I don't know everything now. I'm still learning, but at that time, I just had to hurry up to know that I have to get him in these services. I have to get him the help that he needs. So we started ABA. We found an ABA center. He went there for 2 months. I didn't like it, so I placed him out. Then we found a new one, and I love that center. So he was there
Nice.
until 6. And then the new ABA center that he's in now is like such a big boy change because it's a bigger school. It's like so cool. He did amazing with transitioning. So for us, ABA has helped a lot. He's no longer an OT, no,
Mhm.
and he placed out. Speech we're still working on, and yeah, we've just been learning as we're going.
Yeah. So does he have verbal language?
So he has apraxia as well, meaning like he has like his brain like doesn't function like fast, like the brain waves don't go as fast as like what he wants to speak. So if we tell him to say mommy or daddy, it takes him a little bit and he'll say it, but certain words he cannot get them out. Like he tries.
Mm.
So he's currently on an AAC device. He communicates with us and he also signs. Signing is not his favorite. He knows a few things, but the AAC device on his iPad is the best way that he wants to communicate.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have anyone like in your corner, like guiding you or supporting you through all this, or
So
you
that's
just
what
put
kind
the
of led
pedal
me to
down?
everything where I am today because granted I had my husband, but we were both learning. We didn't know, this was our first time with him.
Right.
So,
And husbands, I mean, come on.
we're learning. And he had a son prior to me. So, his son obviously isn't autistic. So it was just a lot of trial and error, trying to figure it out. And then I would look for support groups or I would look to click with other moms or other families. And whether it was Facebook, whether it was like meetings, whatever it is that I try to find, I never was able to find the right fit for me, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I would go, I would try, and I'm like, well, these moms might be too, it's too much up there, or we're not in the same boat, we're not compatible. Yes, we can learn, and I learned a lot, but it just didn't feel or like natural for me.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of down because I'm like, I feel like I'm the one going through it alone. I didn't have any support. Nobody understands. And I have friends and I have family, but if you're not in that situation, you're not going to get it. So finally, it just led me to say, you know what? If I can't find my own, support system, I'm going to create it. And I started creating support groups, which I do now once a month. It's called
Nice.
Autism Networking Night. I have families coming out, to just come and just, listen. Like you don't even have to talk, just listen, absorb the information. If you have questions, it's a non judgment kind of place. It's very like laid back, like this podcast,
Yeah.
because one thing I know is that people want the help, but then when it's there, they kind of back down. And one thing that I've noticed is and it's a free event. They don't have to pay. So what I noticed is it's either people back out because of financial situations, which I know things can get expensive, or because they're shy or embarrassed and they don't want to. So I always say, even if you just come in and you say nothing, you're going to leave with something.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all in
Yeah.
the same boat. So that was a big, big like to do for me and for me to create this because I know what it feels like to be alone and I know what it feels like to not have somebody understand you and not find the right fit.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, there's a lot of power in all that, especially for all the listeners. If you're not finding the right crew, your right people, the
It's
right
hard.
ABA,
Yeah.
whatever, just
Yeah.
keep looking and find your people.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna find it. It's, you sometimes you feel stuck, like you're not gonna find it, but you just have to keep pushing because one thing I always say is if you don't do it, who's gonna do it? You have to fight for your
Yeah.
kids.
Right.
So, and you'll find it. It's just you gotta really, really push.
Yeah. Uh, autism moms are, you're a different kind. You're definitely a group I wouldn't want to mess with.
No, I know. I go hard for my son. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's doable. It's findable. You just have to want it. You just have to be eager. And it's like I
Yeah.
say, like it's like a job. If you want to, move up on the ladder, you're gonna do what it takes. So the same thing.
Absolutely. What are some of the unexpected lessons Jackson has taught you about life?
I will say patience, taking time out, like just not living in a fast paced world because that's what I was used to. He's definitely taught me that patience is key, just enjoying every moment, every milestone, not putting pressure on myself of what it needs to look like, what it has to be, because I was going through that and I still go through it sometimes. I forget, like, listen, this is where we started, this is where we are. There has been a huge shift. So with
Hmm.
him teaching me all those tools definitely has made me a better person and a better mom because then I can perform better for him. I just had a podcast recently and one thing that I do regret because I try to live my life in no regrets because what's done is done. But one thing that I wish I could take back is enjoy. I wish I would have enjoyed him for what it was when he was that little because
Mm.
I was so tunnel focused on getting him help, doing this. What are we going to do next? And what does this look like? And like almost trying to like fix it instead of just going with the flow and enjoying my son because he was still a baby. He wasn't broken, you know what I mean? Like he was
Yeah.
still doing what he does, and I missed those years. I didn't do that.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice. I mean, that speaks to me.
Yeah.
I have a 9 month old. He was born 9 weeks early. He was 2 pounds 15 ounces, and we found out at 25 weeks my wife had cancer. So it was such a we're like 10 months from that point now, but it was such a weird emotional like mindset that I was going through in the early days. Because like, yeah, he came out emergency C-section. Everything was fine. He went through the NICU for 9 weeks. His name is Jack. I call him Jack in the
Oh,
Box
I love
because he lived in a
Jack and Jack.
box. Yeah, but it was crazy, and I think I've really ever shared this. But like you love him, you're excited he's there, but then just like the how hard it is. And then when he left the hospital, I mean, my mother-in-law was there a lot helping out, but it was like I didn't have my wife to take
Yeah,
care of him as much. So
yeah,
then it was on me.
right.
I mean, I had tons of help. I don't
But
know
it's
if I
still your
could have.
responsibility because you're dad and it's your child.
Right.
Oh, I
And
get
it's
it.
like you're so thankful for him, but then you forget to enjoy the moments.
Yep. You
Even
forget.
this
And it's
morning.
easy, it's
Yeah.
natural, it happens, but it's something that I try to be more present now because I know what it feels like. I went through it and I don't want to do that anymore because how much more am I going to miss? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. How's your relationship with him evolved over time?
It's been, I feel like that little special little man, we've always had like a beautiful bond before we found out about his diagnosis. It was always something different, but I feel like I don't know if this I want to say diagnosed brought us closer. I don't, and when I say closer, I don't mean like a mother to son, but I think in ways of connections that I've never thought I can have with somebody before, whether it's,
Wow.
a child, a partner, things like that. And I feel like until you don't go through life challenges, you never know your strengths, you never know your emotional capacity, you never know how much you can give. And I think my son has definitely taught me over the years, and as he keeps growing and as we keep living, that I have so much fight in me that if you would have asked me this question years ago, if somebody would have told me like, hey, you're going to have a son who's autistic and this is what you're going to go through, I'd have been like, no, sir, I can't do that. Or that's not going to happen. But I'm
Yeah.
here and I'm doing it.
Right. That's interesting. I had a buddy on a handful of episodes ago, and he was a war veteran,
Mm.
Army Ranger, and I read some articles on comparing war veterans' stress levels to autistic mom. Yeah, and so I had him on. And I was asking him about it, and he was like, probably like your body doesn't know what it is. It just knows it's under chronic stress.
Right.
And the last question I asked him is, what advice would you give to a family going through this? And he said, like, how lucky are you that you can experience the love in a way that nobody else can? And you just said that. I was like, that's intense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you think in life you've gone through it all or you've experienced stress or it's been the worst, but I will say having a child with any disability, it doesn't even matter if it's autism, it's hard
Yeah.
because you rather take that pain or you rather take whatever it is that they have instead of them suffering because no parent or nobody in this world are having children expecting for them to have something wrong. That's not
Hmm.
what we want to do. Everybody wants a picture perfect life and a child and so forth. So when this happens to you, for whatever reason it is, whether it's my blessing, whether it's my calling, whatever God brought my son for, he's telling me that, there's more in you. Whatever you thought was stressful before, whatever you thought, was harder before, like, you know, it's it's not. That was all easy. Like this is you and you
Yeah.
have way more going on and you have like you can fight. You can keep going. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How have you fought through some of those mindsets of like obviously your life
Hmm.
presumably isn't how you thought it would look 7 years
Mm.
ago, and to not like carry that victim mentality. Rather,
Oh,
this is
that took a
happening
long
for you.
time. That took a long time, and I'm not saying I'm in the best place now, but I'm way better than I was before because it was a lot. It was a lot of guilt. It was a lot of self-blame, and no one was going to talk me out of it, whether it was my husband, my friends, my family. Like, you couldn't tell me anything because that's how I felt. I was a little reluctant to go into therapy. Not that I don't believe in therapy, but because at the time, I thought that wasn't what I needed. I didn't know what I needed. So I said, well, I don't know what my other options are. I don't know what else I need. Let me try therapy and then I'll go from there. I started therapy, and after maybe two or three therapists, because I didn't like them, I was like, this isn't the best fit for me. I
Yeah.
found my match and I was so happy, and we worked through everything. And it wasn't just how I was feeling and the self blame. She really took me down to like the root problem, to like things that I'm like, oh, I didn't think that made any sense or that would connect with this. And she really helped me work through it. And I would say it took me a good 2 years plus.
Well, you put in the work.
I had to because, it was hard. I didn't want to, but like I said, it's either get stuck in the same feeling, same situation and not doing anything about it, or try to find the help. And all I could do was try. If therapy was going to work, it worked like it did. But if it wasn't that, I knew that I was going to find another way. I just didn't know what the best fit was at the time.
Yeah. Wow. This is
Mhm.
powerful recording. I appreciate all your honesty. You're allowing me to ask the deeper questions, which is it's awesome. Yeah. What are some common misconceptions people have about autism?
There's a lot.
A lot of them.
Yeah. That I will definitely say that they're going to get, it's going to go away as they get older, however they want to phrase it. Like, oh, it's just temporary. Maybe when they get older, they'll be fine. With my son, since he's nonverbal, they're like, oh, maybe when he's 16, because we know somebody who, when they were 16, they're going to talk. And I've heard it since he was little up until now, like, oh, when he's 7, when he's this. And that children on the spectrum, and I'm naming the ones that I know because my son is not like this, but saying that they don't have emotions, they don't know how to be emotional, or they don't know, like, they don't have the feeling. That's an absolute big myth and lie. Like, that's not true. My son is the biggest mush, the biggest lover, the biggest, most affectionate kid that I know, completely autistic. And he knows when and he knows how, he knows his boundaries, and he knows when he's doing it and like why. So that to me is the biggest misconception. Like, they know.
Yeah.
They know.
They're fully aware.
Yes.
It's just, especially, I taught for 7 years
Hmm.
in a life skills class.
Oh, I love that.
Mostly all my students were non-speaking, violent, and had autism. And oh no, we froze. Oh, there we are.
There we are.
I was saying, yeah, so I taught for 7 years, and that was a big lie that I came across, even with faculty and the gen ed teachers. It was like, oh, I would hear him like, he doesn't know what's going on. Like,
Yeah, just
please.
because they don't communicate, they're not deaf. They know,
Right.
they hear, and that bothers me because that's not fair. They still
Yeah.
should be treated with respect. They still know. Just because they might not communicate doesn't mean anything. And that's not,
No.
I don't like that.
And they just communicate in a lot of different ways.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like I remember one instance, I had one student, he kept punching one specific staff in my class, and I was like, all right, sit down, let me do exactly what you're doing to him, and tell me if you want to punch me. And she was all on his face, talking to him like a baby. And then after like a few minutes, she's like, okay, I understand, thanks. I won't do that anymore. But
No,
they're not that different.
no, and one thing I always make it clear too, and I don't walk around telling people what to do, but I never, and so far, people are very respectful. I don't want anybody treating my son any different. Like, does he need some accommodations? Maybe. That's fine. But if you walk in a room, don't dismiss my son. Do not acknowledge him just because he might not say hi or give you the communication that you're looking for. Like, still acknowledge him because he's there. He hears you. So I
Hmm.
tell everybody, listen, if you're gonna come in or you're gonna say hi, he's there. And not that
Yeah.
not that anybody has done it, but my son still needs to be acknowledged. He's still a human being. He can hear, he has all his senses. Like, there's nothing wrong with him besides that he can't communicate.
Right, right. Is this what you would change on how society views autism?
I would. If I could, I would, because, society has a lot of growing up to do and a lot of learning. And it's sad because, and I will say this until I can't say it anymore. It is not fair for our children, whether you're in ABA or in public school setting, wherever you are, to get drilled for however many hours for you to learn how to be in a societal environment just to be pleasing to others. Like, no, why doesn't society or the non-autistic or disability people learn how to deal with our kids or with our society? Because we should know better than them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's not fair to them. For me, what's more important is for my son to learn how to advocate for himself, learn how to possibly maybe live on his own one day, or just do things for himself, like life skills. I don't need him to learn how to be in a social environment that he might not even want to be in. You know what I mean?
probably. Right, right.
Right. So why can't we teach the rest of the world how to be kind, how to work around specific needs, or how to be accommodating if you come across people who have certain disabilities? I think that's fair. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's not what the world is taught. That's not what the world is doing. They bully these kids, they torture these kids. Why? Because it's easy, because it's a target. And that's not okay.
right. Yeah, that was one of my most favorite, hands down favorite thing about teaching,
Yeah.
especially the classes I had in high school and adult transition, was taking my students out in the community and just teaching basic life skills. I loved going into grocery stores and restaurants and having them interact with the public. And it's alarming how uncomfortable the public is
They are. And
with
it's
them
sad
in the room.
because there's
Yeah,
nothing like, why are we uncomfortable? What's wrong with them? Why not, be a helping hand? Like, one thing that I noticed is my son thrives off of life skills. If we're on vacation, if we're doing anything, he thrives off of it. And right now, we don't get the looks, we don't get the stares, we don't get anything negative because he's little. But
yeah,
I'm sure as he gets older, that's going to change. And people might give him the stare and might get the look, and I'll be in a whole different situation.
yeah,
Back to me. But, it's taking it one day at a time. And I don't want to stress that because I don't know what it's going to be. But for now, people have sympathy sometimes for when they're little. But when they're older, they get looked down upon, and that's not okay.
yeah. What would be some key advice you would give to society on how to be better allies?
Just putting yourself in that person's shoes, because no one's saved. That could have been you. That could have been your child. You're lucky that it's not, but you can have, it could be a sibling, it could be your own child down the line, their kids. It could always come back, and it could be somebody. Treat others how you want to be treated. I tell my daughter this all the time. Kindness goes a long way. You may not like somebody, you may not respect certain things, they might do something to you, but try your best and be kind, or
Hmm.
figure it out. But unless that person doesn't completely disrespect you, harm you, or do anything, respect goes a long way, because that's how you
Totally.
want to be treated as well. And sometimes, depending on the circumstance, depending, sometimes they may not know their force or what they're doing. You know what I mean? They just, sometimes kids, or not kids, but in general, autistic people, they can, be in a mood, or they can have a meltdown, or they can have something. Sometimes they need that space just like any other person needs that space. You know what I mean? But they just react differently. So just, if you don't know what you're talking about, or if you don't know about the situation, don't say anything, step back, allow people to handle it. But be a good ear, but be a good support system, and just be kind. Like, no one expects you to know anything, but don't judge, because it's not
Right.
easy.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the relationship like with Jackson and his sister?
So they have a good relationship. My daughter's a little toughy, I will say. She's the queen of the house. She's the boss, but she's learning. And sometimes she'll be like, "Mommy." It's funny because sometimes she'll come up to me. She's like, "Mommy, Jackson yelled at me," and I'm like, "What'd he say?" And she's like, "He went or he'll do something," and I'm like, "Okay, but what did we do to get him upset?" And she'll say nothing. So I have to like assess. So I'm trying to teach her, whether it's her brother or any other regular kid, like, we have to set boundaries, and we have to respect the same way that, she would want that. But I always, it's hard. I always tell her, like, I always say to her in a way that I say, Jackson's a little different, and that's okay. And there's going to be a lot of kids that you're going to go to school with that are going to be different. They're not going to communicate, or they're not going to do this, or they might. I say, how Jackson flaps his hands? And she's like, yeah. I was like, that means he's happy. So then she does it sometimes too. And I said, and that's okay if that's what you want to do. But when kids come up to you and say, why do you do that? Or why do you do this? You can tell them that it's okay. It's just a form of being happy. Teach them instead of being shy or being, you know what I mean? Or like holding back. If that's what you want to do, I'm going to allow my daughter to swim. She doesn't need to, but she sees her brother. And I don't think there's anything wrong. If anything, educate the world why you do what you do, because that's how your brother communicates that he's happy.
Yeah, so good. How, so they're 3 years apart.
They
Did you
are.
go through any kind of like, what was the decision process to have another kid? Was there like, was that on your mind? Like maybe there could
No.
be some
So
autism?
the funny thing is, having her, weird enough, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about like, oh
Okay.
my God, we could have another child on the spectrum, or, it could be something else. It wasn't a thought in my brain, which is so bizarre.
Yeah.
When we thought about having another one, that's when I
Okay.
started panicking. I was like, oh my God, we really need to think this through. And I don't know if it's because I was having a harder time juggling both, because I don't want to give one more attention than the other, or you know what I mean? Like trying to like
Yeah.
balance motherhood with two kids, because one's easy peasy, two was definitely hard. So when we thought about a third, that's when it hit me. And I said, no, I think we need to like write this down. We really need to think about it, because God forbid we have a child with any disability. I started panicking. I said, are we going to have the time? Financially, are we going to be able to support that? Am I going to have enough time for Jackson and his needs, and then still give Juliana her attention? Is it going to be
Mhm.
fair for Juliana to have another sibling who's on the spectrum, and then she just gets lost in the shuffle? So it was a lot of those. And that's where we were like, no, we're fine with what we have. We're managing, we're doing well. And I want all of my kids to have the same amounts of love and support and attention, and not having to like, I still struggle with dividing my time, but it's not like I have so many that I have to give out. You know what I mean? And I don't want to
Yeah.
do that to my kids. I don't want my
Yeah.
daughter, being older and like, oh, you only gave him attention because of this and this. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah. Man, the thoughts and scenarios that you have to go through in your mind
Yeah,
are just
it's a
crazy.
lot.
And you put out a post yesterday, I think it was, about that. I think the headline was like, point of view, like it must be nice to stay home. And then you just fired off, and I was like, this is so spot on. What do people say that to you?
So at the beginning, when I had my son, so I became a stay-home mom in 2017. That's when I had my son. And at
Okay.
the time, I was just like, oh, I want to be a stay-home mom. Let me see what it's about. But that was before I found out about his diagnosis. When I considered going back into the workforce, that's when I found out about my son. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I need to be there, and I need to do what I have to do. So in the midst of me being there for him, and basically that's a job in itself. That's a
Yeah.
full-time job,
100%.
no check-in time, no clock out time. So as I was doing that, I started losing myself a little bit too. And that's what kind of shift my gear. And I said, if I do anything, it will not be working for anybody, because I cannot devote my time to that person. I need to devote my time to my son and still find a
So
way
good.
to keep my sanity. So that's how yoga came into play, and life coaching, because I used to work around my son's nap times or schedule. So it gave me that life balance that I needed. I was still a full time mom. I didn't feel guilty leaving him, but I also needed to find myself, because I was still struggling. This was before therapy. I was still struggling with the fact that I did this to my son, kind of thing. So I was just finding different outlets. I still do it to this day. I love it. I haven't changed careers yet, but
Hmm.
yeah, people see what they want to see, I always say. And, Instagram's Instagram. So people post what they want, what they want you to see. And, no one ever asks and says, hey, other than me seeing you have a great old time at the beach, what else is going on? How's life? How's your son? They don't see that, because they just want to see what the good time.
Right, right. Well, I thought it was awesome. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is everything everybody needs to hear. I experienced it when I was teaching with families. Like,
Yeah.
I always my staff sometimes would complain, like, is this day over yet? Like, this is the hardest day. Everyone's going off the behaviors or whatever. I'm
But
like,
they
you have
get to
no
go
idea.
home.
We go home at 3 o'clock and we come back at 7 o'clock. These parents, they never stop.
They don't stop. You don't
Even
stop.
when they're at school, you're
Yeah.
still going. You're still
Oh, yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. Like, I don't get asked that question anymore. It's funny because I used to get it asked before his diagnosis. Now they're like, okay, I guess because they see what I'm doing, it's not
Right.
too much, but I remember being there.
Yeah. So you're a life coach and a certified yogi.
Hmm.
How has that helped you in just being able to balance it all?
Yeah, yoga definitely was one of my first outlets for me, just because it was like a form of exercise that I needed, I guess, to kind of feel myself again after having the baby, because I used to do more gym and things like that. But that, I don't know, I guess my everything started shifting. So I started doing yoga and I fell in love with it right away, whether it was a spirituality about it a little bit, just feeling, calm, at peace. Like, I never thought I could find something that would kind of keep me grounded, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like the world that I came in with, I would leave at the door. And I didn't think anything could do that. So I fell in love with it
Mm,
right away. My instructor was amazing. I would take her classes and she's like, hey, I really think you're into it and I think you should, try to take one of my classes. I'm starting like a yoga curriculum soon. So you could, students could become an instructor. And I was like, no, no. And then after I went home, talked about it with my husband, he's like, why not? It's either, you do it and you have the certification or you don't have to do it, but you have it. So because I felt like it wasn't so pressured, like I tried and what's going to happen if I don't want to do it? Nothing bad. I did it. And to this day, I'm happy. Like, I had a yoga studio. I opened one up
nice.
and it really changed my life in a good way. Like I said, as far as finding my purpose and doing something for me, but not being stuck to a 9 to 5 and reporting to somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any like simple breathing exercises or anything you do daily that kind of just centers you?
No, to be honest, I think when I start setting up my classes, like knowing what I'm going to teach for the day and knowing, like, so at the end of my classes, every class, I always leave everybody with a mantra, right? And I like to give like a little spiel at the end. And normally I wing it. And why I say that is because I want to feel the room. I want to feel like who's in
Mm,
there. What are we going through today? What are we feeling? So as I'm gathering like what class style I'm going to teach, what I'm going to do, I think what really keeps me at peace is knowing that when we get there as a group, we're all chit chatting, we're talking about craziness and life and this and that. But by the time that they're done with my class and we're all together, I feel that peace. Like we all bring it together, like harmoniously, like we're all together. And a lot of my speeches are about life, whether it's devotion, whether it's self care, whether it's self love. Like any mantra that I give is mostly self empowerment because we need that. We need to hear that all the time. We need to uplift each other and encourage each other because no matter what we're going through in life, everybody's going through something. So
yeah,
for me, it's basically, you know, whatever, I guess, mantra I'll be saying at the end of the day, I think that kind of sets my tone for the day.
that's great. What advice would you give to parents who are just beginning their journey after an autism diagnosis or whatever? What's
No, that's a good
what,
question.
what would you tell them?
Just keep fighting. Don't quit. Don't get discouraged. Give yourself the time that you need to grieve because I feel like if you don't, you're going to slower your process because it's hard. You try to muster everything up, you try to like say like I'm fine, and you're going to come into a breaking point. And you don't want that breaking point to be when you're on that fast track and you think you're doing your thing because that's a setback. It might happen, you might cry, but you don't want it to be your breaking point. Allow yourself to go through the grief. Allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. It doesn't matter. Give yourself that time in that space. And once you feel that, you've let everything go, fight for your kids because no one is. No one, no one, no one, no one. You can have all the support in the world. You can have all the resources in the world. They're there to help you. But you have to do the work for your child because no one else is going to do it. And your mom, whether it's a mom, it's a dad, a family member, whoever that caregiver is, that child is waiting for you to help them. And the faster you help them, the more progress you'll see, the more happy moments you'll have, the more successes and the more wins. I always say set up your kids for success, because when you don't, or when things are not panning out the way that you think you want them to, the only person that you have to look at is yourself. You're the reflection.
Yeah.
You can't blame anybody else. So don't let people get to you. Do not listen to the outside noise. Follow your intuition and just do it. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's such a good point, because I feel like a lot of families and parents forget to be in tune with themselves,
Yeah, you have to,
and they're
because nobody knows.
constant. Yeah.
Take the advice, shuffle it around to your advantage. Like if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you need to do what's best, and you have to listen to yourself. You have to, because I promise you, like I feel like my hunches and my feelings never steered me in the right direction. I mean, I've never steered me in the wrong direction, but it's scary, because you don't know if
Yeah.
you're doing the right or wrong thing. But if you don't do it, you just don't know, and that's scarier.
Yeah.
That's more scary than not doing anything at all.
What are your hopes for Jackson's future and the future of autism?
My little guy, to be very transparent, I wish my son can talk. I'm not going to lie. I know a lot of people say, like, oh, this is what it is, and that's okay. Of course, I'm going to love him regardless. Of course, we're going to accept whatever comes with him as he gets older. But do I wish that he can communicate? Absolutely. Do I think things will make it better? Absolutely. Do I want an easy life for my son? Of course. But if I, let's say I can't have it my way, I just want my son to live the best normal life, however it comes to him, and I want him to enjoy it. I want him to remember his life like any other kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
try to make him as independent as I can, whether independency looks like he might have, I don't know, I build a tiny house behind my house. I don't care. But guess what? He's living
Yeah.
independent. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But I want him to, my goal in life is to give Jackson the most normal life possible, because he deserves it. He just deserves it. It just because he's labeled, just because he might have a few things here and there, doesn't mean that I want to discredit him, not challenge him, not push him to his max, and see his potential, because he has it. It just needs to be, shown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're an author, yogi, life coach, autism mom. You put on a free monthly
Yes, support
get
group.
together support group. But anything else you're working on?
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
you got a lot going on. Or
So
anything you're excited for?
every day is something new where, we're brainstorming, we're doing a lot, from our merch, we have our shirts, you
Oh, you got some
know,
merch. Okay.
yeah, we created the autism puzzle piece. We've had this since last year for Autism Awareness Month. So every day is something, I'm getting opportunities a lot, whether it's podcasts. I spoke at a summit back in April in front of so many people, moms. Actually, it was called Moms Who Hustle Summit.
Whoa,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, so a lot of guest speaking opportunities, which I love, because I want my story out. I want it to be heard, and I want this to become, like I said, a kinder place for everybody. And I feel like when whoever gets together, whether it's women, moms, dads, and everything, and they hear it come from a genuine person, not a celebrity, not somebody who has, all this money. It's just a regular person. It hits home. So, you can
Yeah,
resonate with that person. So my goal, or like, just future plans, is to continue my journey, continue to, get it out there, whether it's my book getting into schools, and we kind of normalize this already, whether it's me
totally.
continue to, speaking to people, continue to help my community. Like tomorrow, I have my support group, and I'm doing back to school, helping families, whether it's ABA services, whether they're going to regular public schools, whether they want to homeschool, just all the resources that they can get. So that way, instead of them, I'm trying to create it to a point where you just pick and choose what you want to do, because I'm doing all the dirty work for you, all the grunt work, all the work that you don't want to do, I'll do it for you.
Right, right. Wow. That's they're definitely fortunate to have you in their corner.
Well, thank you.
And I mean, this is the goal all around the country, right? So everyone
Yeah.
to have these individuals
Yeah.
like yourself to
So, yeah, I mean,
bridge the gap.
I do see, hopefully in my in my timing, like more, paneling, more speaking, potentially maybe another book, things like that. But I go with the flow. I go with how my life is going, what's needed, what I need to project out there, and what's really going to help, whether it's in the community or in the world.
Yeah, amazing. All right, I'll close it out with 3 rapid fire questions.
Sure.
You got 5 seconds to think
The
of your
pressure.
answer. What's your favorite mantra or quote that keeps you grounded?
I would say for my mantra, I would say, let's see. Oh my God, there's so many. See the light in you, spit the fire that you are, and just be happy with with yourself and your life.
Mm, that's good. See the light in you. What's your go-to self-care ritual when things get overwhelming? Massage. There we go.
Yes, I feel like that's the
Nice.
only place that's gonna take me to not think of anything. Because you carry the weight on your shoulders.
Right.
I feel like I'm always tense, I'm always stressed, and I'm like, I need something to just debrief.
Right, right. And then one children's book that you think every household should have.
Mine, of course, Jackson's Superhero School Adventure.
There it is.
Yes, yes. And to your point, I think it's a great book. I think, everybody should have it in their households and not just household schools everywhere because it's definitely a real life story. A child going to school, what could be expected, what that child might, do and how he acts and having the world, seeing that and how we should, adjust to it or how to respect it or how to treat a child who is different.
Oh, that's so amazing. I've had so much fun digging into all
Thank
this
you.
with you. You can find Jackson's
On
Superhero
Amazon.
School Adventure on Amazon, and it'll get to you in like a day, 2
Yeah,
days maybe.
yes,
It's pretty
very
quick.
quick.
And then you can find Jessica on Instagram at Autism Superhero. Anywhere else?
Autism Superhero. You can email me as well at the Autism Superhero 23 at Gmail. But for now, we're just currently on Instagram. There's only so much social media I can handle.
Right.
But yes, for now we're there, and yeah, I mean the book is on Amazon. I have the link in my bio, so if you're on my Instagram, you could just click the link and it'll take you straight through there.
Yeah. So good. I think your name is fitting, Autism Superhero.
Yay! Yes, that was
Definitely.
that was totally the inspired my son because I said if this little guy can navigate the world with no words, that's a hero right there. He's my hero.
Totally. I can't imagine trying
I
to.
can't do it. I don't think I can. So
No, I'd be punching everyone.
yeah, he's a tough little guy, and he's definitely our hero because he has taught us that, love or just navigating the world you don't really need any words. You're going to figure it out. You'll find a way. And he has for sure shown us the way.
Yeah, so good. Well, thank you again for being on this special podcast.
Thank you.
So much fun.